Bernie Sanders is up for re-election in 2018 for his third term in the Senate, but that doesn't mean he's going to play it safe with any of the bills that he is proposing. He is predictably relentless, and I love it. This time he's going after opioid manufacturers and the executives who run them, too. While lots of politicians like to treat this crisis as a problem that starts and ends with illicit opioids, heroin, Bernie knows that that is not the origin, and there are facts, a lot of them, to back that up. A 2013 government study found that when examining national-level general population heroin data, including those in and not in treatment, nearly 80% of heroin users reported using prescription opioids prior to heroin. In addition, 80% of the world's pain pills are consumed in the United States, which has just 5% of the world's population. There is a direct link between prescription opioids and heroin addiction. Heroin is much cheaper than prescription opioids, so when addicts run out of their pills, they turn to heroin and get addicted to that then. And pharmaceutical companies have been pushing these opioids so aggressively, so much so that hundreds of states and cities, both red and blue, are suing these companies for their unethical practices. But Bernie Sanders wants to address this on the federal level, not just in suits and practices by particular states or counties or cities. His state, Vermont, actually has been, by many estimates, the most proactive state in dealing with the crisis, eliminating the wait list for those who are waiting to receive treatment, among many other policies. But Bernie wants to make a hammer statement in the Senate, not just on the state level. Senator Bernie Sanders will introduce a bill Tuesday that would impose jail time for pharmaceutical executives whose companies engage in manipulative practices when marketing opioids. The legislation would impose a 10-year minimum prison sentence and fines equal to an executive's compensation package if the individual's company is found to have illegally contributed to the opioid crisis. It would also impose an additional fine on those companies of $7.8 billion, 1/10 the annual cost of the crisis per a 2016 estimate. Now, I'm curious to see how the rest of the Senate is going to respond, notably the ones who receive money from the pharmaceutical companies, lots of money. If you recall, back when Wall Street crashed our economy due to their illegal and immoral behavior, many senators and the Obama administration made the argument that it would be needlessly punitive to send the bankers to jail or to prosecute them really at all. They simply imposed meager fines on the banks and moved on, only sending one banker to jail after the crisis, a smaller executive at Credit Suisse named Karim Saraglendin. I don't know, but the bigwigs, despite their insane recklessness, got away pretty scot-free. Bernie Sanders is trying to ensure that that kind of thing doesn't happen again, especially when Big Pharma's greed is causing massive amounts of deaths, not just financial ruin. Sanders, an independent who ran for the Democratic presidential nomination in 2016, I don't know if you guys have heard of him, said the bill aimed to hold opioid manufacturers accountable for their role in the epidemic and force them to help pay for the crisis, which the White House Council of Economic Advisors has estimated cost more than $500 billion in 2015. Again, besides making a statement and setting a precedent to the executives whose reckless greed and pushing of these medications will put you in jail, this also forces these companies not to privatize the gains and socialize the losses like Wall Street and most notably Big Oil have done with their treatment of climate change. Hey, pharmaceutical companies, if you're going to profit off of the death and addiction of countless Americans, you know what? You're going to have to contribute monetarily to the programs that help offset that destruction. Sorry. And while Bernie's bill is addressing this on the federal level, some of these companies are already running scared because of these local lawsuits. Purdue Pharma, which manufactures the opioid painkiller OxyContin, announced in February it would no longer directly market the drug to doctors, a major shift for the company that has shouldered an increasing share of the blame for the national crisis. And I know the Republicans and some moderate Democrats would say, you know, Emma, you're being unfair. These executives and companies aren't doing this purposefully. They are in the healthcare business, caring for people. They aren't purposely trying to get people addicted or at the very least turning a blind eye to that addiction after encouraging it. Well, listen to this. McKesson, a drug distributor, is said to have shipped 5 million opioid pills to a West Virginia town with 400 residents over a 2-year span. That is as deliberate as it gets, and thankfully we have at least one senator in our government who is trying to put a stop to it. While Sanders is introducing the bill today, it is notable that it has yet to get one co-sponsor in addition to him. I'm sure people like Elizabeth Warren and Jeff Merkley will sign on eventually, but we will have to see who doesn't sign on. That will be one of the most interesting parts of this bill, because while this bill probably won't pass under a Republican administration and Republican control, it will be another instance of Bernie holding the Senate accountable and making them put their vote and their name to something that would help the American people instead of cowering to corporate interests. And we'll see who steps up to the plate.